Doing this all on the government computer.
Welcome to the VET S.O.S podcast. Remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S lifeline. VET S.O.S is brought to you by the Who You Know Network and proud members of the Parade Deck community. Today, we're sitting down with Ryan Woodruff, Chief Executive Officer at Clear Path for Veterans. It's a fantastic organization that's doing some wonderful things for our community, and we can't wait to get into this conversation and learn more about what they're doing. Keith, riding shotgun again, as always, man. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there, brother. How you doing?
the pause was a bit concerning.
I'm just tired. I'm alive. I'm on this side of the ground, so it's all good.
This is true.
Looking forward to this episode. I'll say that part. I'll get energized. Just give me a minute. I'll get spun up.
We have to pause the episode and go into an intervention here. What's going on, man?
I just need more of this.
Oh, there you go. You got the caffeine up. All right, so let's jump into this here. Ryan, the Chief Executive Officer at Clear Path for Veterans, Inc., embarked on his journey in the service dog industry in 2016. This pivotal movement marked the beginning of his profound commitment to making a difference in the lives of veterans and their canine companions. His initial involvement as a recipient of a grassroots program that paired sheltered dogs with veterans ignited a deep passion for training canines and fostering meaningful relationships between veterans and their service dogs. It's great to see you again, Ryan. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Good to be alive.
All right, everybody's happy to be alive today. This is fantastic.
I need a morale dog on this episode. You got a dog, Ryan? I can bring one of mine on.
Got four of them down here.
Nice.
I'd bring mine in. It'd knock me out of the chair. All right, so I can't wait to end this conversation. I love talking about service dogs and you know how that whole program and how those things work. Before we do that, though, man, tell us about your transition. How'd that go?
Challenging to say the least. Not as seamless as I thought it would be. I was thinking about this before our meeting, and you know, what I learned from my experience in the military is every day is a new challenge, and when you live like that for as long as you do, be it 4 years or 20 years, you know, we're programmed to pursue pleasure and avoid discomfort. Yet when you go into the civilian world and nobody's really telling you what to do or where to be and when to be there and, you know, putting you on an objective or a mission, you kind of realize pretty quickly, at least it was in my experience, that your purpose goes away. You start to get into an identity conflict and ask yourself, is this really it? Is this what I was so excited about? And, you know, I particularly struggled with that. Just thinking that I had a plan and I knew exactly what I was going to do. I've told a couple people, you know, on these interviews that law enforcement seemed to make sense. Doing 4 years in the infantry, a couple combat deployments, seemed like the only translatable skills would be something in law enforcement. Far be it from the case. You know, I mean, there really wasn't a lot of hiring going on, and when I finally did get a chance at that shot, I didn't get selected for various reasons, particularly because of some of the struggles I was facing when I got out of the military. So, you know, I got out, got an apartment with some of the guys I served with, which is a bad decision, to be honest with you, because we were all equally disturbed. Went to college. I drank a lot. You know, that was one of my biggest struggles. And it took me years to figure out that was holding me back. Better part of a decade, really, just to finally look in the mirror and say, I'm declining quickly. And I can start to see why, you know, a lot of these veterans out there end up becoming a statistic when they get addicted to these substances for as long as you do. And you really start to become a hollow version of your true self. And that was the case for me, right? Like for years, I was functioning. I was going to school full time. I got a job doing tree work after I graduated out of a forestry degree in college. And I was an arborist for 6 years. It was really hard work. And it was the closest thing that I could, you know, that would come to being an infantryman. And working with small teams, climbing trees with chainsaws seemed like the only thing that I was finding any pleasure in that, and, you know, drinking myself stupid. And it was a routine. Every day it was the same thing. And I was really falling into a pit. So it took a lot to get out of that.
That's a story we've we're not only familiar with, but also one that we hear a
Live
lot.
through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely something we all deal with, and so happy to see that you've been able to make course corrections and get on the path you're on now. That's just fantastic. I do have to ask a question, totally unrelated. What kind of dog kennel is that behind you? That
Oh,
looks serious. That looks like a vault.
that's an impact dog crate.
That
Yeah,
is
you know how
impressive.
it goes. Like, we like our gear. I wasn't blessed with great gear in the Marine Corps, so when I got out and got a pretty good job, I figured why not splurge a little bit. They're amazing crates. I mean, they're crash tested. Um,
It's like a
yeah,
bond tested.
it's a little bit intense, for a Labrador Retriever. I do have a Dutch Shepherd though, and he's learned to break out of those things too. So there's
Wow.
dogs are pretty intelligent, but it's a really good crate.
It could have been worse. You could have said, well, my Chihuahua uses it, and
Yeah, yeah, right.
so the story is familiar, Keith, man. What do you think?
Oh, it's definitely familiar. I mean, and unfortunately, just even before you get out, I mean, substance abuse in many forms, but namely the alcohol realm, it's accepted in the military. It's glorified in the military for all intents and purposes. So, yeah, a lot. It's yeah, definitely a story we've heard, I've lived, and can definitely relate to. So how did you go from? So let's pick it back up.
Yeah.
From this recovery to finding a purpose and how it all came into clear path.
Yeah, over many years, really. Um, After about 6 years doing tree work, I mean, my body was in pretty bad shape. I was going to the VA regularly, and they're telling me my back is destroyed and knees and shoulders were compromised, and really shouldn't be climbing trees and doing this kind of work. And obviously drinking as much as I was, and not telling the VA that I was doing that, really
They knew.
wasn't helping. Yeah, they knew for
They
sure.
knew.
A friend of mine was working at ClearPath, running an employment program. He called me up, and I lived in the southern tier of New York State. He said they're looking for a veteran who served in combat that could help other veterans transition from their military to their civilian life, and it sparked an interest with me. From the point where I was doing my job and I was doing it really well, but I couldn't see myself doing that for the next 20 or 30 years. So he said, "Are you interested in this position?" And I was like, "Yeah, 100%. That sounds amazing." He's like, "You're going to take a little bit of a cut in pay, but you might end up finding yourself in a place where you're going to get back to some service." I was like, "Okay, I will apply and see where it goes." And he brought me up to ClearPath. My first time there, I was blown away just by the environment, right? It's on a 78-acre campus in the middle of rural New York. When people think of New York, they think of the city. It's not. I mean, we're in the middle, like smack in the middle of New York, and there's more country and farmland than there are tall buildings. We are not far outside of an urban center in Syracuse, but we're far enough. It's if you were in New York, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between being in the middle of rural Ohio or something like that. And so surrounded by hardwoods, a beautiful view, that overlooks one of the Finger Lakes. And that was like, wow, this is breathtaking. And this is the kind of place where I think veterans could really, upon entry, find something just in this, right? Like nature. I would say part of the reason I got into forestry is because I always had an affinity for being outdoors, the trees, hiking, being in nature is not related to being in the field, right? Because you do so many field ops, at some point you're like, all right, this is getting old. I want to get back to Garrison and get out on Liberty. But when you're controlling your schedule and you're not doing, every day getting up at 0 dark 30 to load mags and go on the range and I'm up, they see me, I'm down for, 2 clicks or whatever until your knees are busted out. Nature, right? Nature is the first thing that I experienced when I went to ClearPath. And then I looked like shit, to be honest with you. I was wearing like my gear from tree work, and I didn't know I was going to be meeting the entire leadership team at that point in time. I was like, "Alex, you could have at least warned me," So he introduces me to this co-founder, Melissa Spicer, civilian who started ClearPath, and like salt of the earth, right? Like really, really incredible human being that just did this out of a vision. that she had with these co-founders, that the military deserves better when they get out. They committed to service, committed to giving the ultimate sacrifice, and we owe it to them. And traditional warrior culture talks a lot about having like an enduring relationship and a process to get members of the military or warrior members back into their community. And that was what ClearPath was all about. I was like, I can get down with that, because SEPs and TAPs didn't really do it for me, right? Like, I didn't really learn how to be a quality civilian. I had no reference point for what it was to be an adult in the real world, right? I lived in the barracks for 4 years, and you have a schedule, you have a program, you're told what to do, where to be, when to be there. If you're at the barracks on a Saturday morning, you're going to have somebody coming out and tell you to pick up cigarette butts in the quad, and it's just everything's predictable, right? And so I was immersed in this environment. I applied for this job. They gave me this position, and I started to work with veterans in 7 counties in southern tier New York, driving out, meeting with them, having coffee, learning about their unique challenges. A lot of these guys were a little bit older, Vietnam era vets. Some of them were homeless. A lot of them, if not all of them, had substance abuse issues. Some of them couldn't put food on the table, couldn't pay their bills, had no community. And I'm like, this is terrible, like much worse than I expected. I thought I was going to be working with post 9/11 guys, just looking to get a good job, navigate the college situation and find decent employment. And while that was a small segment, most of them were really on the far left end of the spectrum, like really in crisis. So it was humbling. I looked in the mirror and said, like, who am I to go out there and be an ambassador of hope and healing when I'm suffering inside as well, even though nobody really knows it. Some of the guys probably did. But it started to just give me an inward look in the mirror and prompted me to make changes, right? If I'm going to do this, I'm going to grab hold of the reins and do it the right way. I also had a lot to lose. As I got out of the military, I got married, had kids after several years. We battled with infertility, and my first year that my kids were born, so I started a ClearPath in 2016, had my kids in 2017. All the while, I still was really declining with my alcoholism. And I came home one day and I was under the influence, right? And I slept in a different room, and I decided that day, like, this is it. I'm done. I got to be done, because I'm going to lose my kids. I'm going to lose my wife. I'm not going to be there for the veterans that I'm trying to walk shoulder to shoulder with. So it was a year of being immersed in the ClearPath system and just really taking a deeper look at myself. And honestly, the decision to quit drinking wasn't it. There was a lot more that had to happen after that. So, but that was the start for me.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
That's a true testimonial, man. And I've been in organizations like that, and I've struggled with alcohol myself, and it's like, you have to make that decision. It's, sometimes some things get forced, like a DUI and, other things that force you to make a change. But ultimately it comes down, I think, to that personal choice to finally, make the change and, adjust yourself, to move forward. So
yeah,
applaud you for making those decisions and taking the steps, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got to be sick and tired of being sick and tired.
100%.
Yeah.
And you're right, though. The military, Marine Corps was born in a bar, right? Ton Tavern,
yeah, right,
Pennsylvania.
literally. Yep.
That's all we did. When we were in the field, and even sometimes when we were in the field, if we had access to booze, that's what we were doing. And it was just a rinse and repeat cycle over and over and over again. And I had a problem before I went in too. That's a big thing that we probably don't focus on, is that some of the kids going in already are coming in with some of these issues, mental health, substance abuse. And, Marine Corps is looking for a certain kind of individual that is pliable, going to form into the mental framework. Basically, like, I was 19 years old on my first deployment. I look back and I'm like, holy, that's just incredible. I look at these kids these days and I just can't imagine some of them experiencing something like that. Lost 14 guys on our first deployment. A lot of IEDs, sniper fire, small arms, ambushes, pressure plates, and I was so numb at the time where I tell people often, like, it took me a good decade to kind of start to grieve and sit down and really understand the weight of all of that loss. But I had to get out of the military and have some time to just rest in that, to be honest with you. And looking back now, the alcohol was the only thing that brought me any kind of joy. It made me feel different than normal, or what my normal was. So when I dropped that, it was a total, like, I had to reboot like everything. And it took like my first year, I just lost a ton of weight. I had no personality. I couldn't speak in front of people. I was shaking all the time. My heart rate was fluctuating. I did it cold turkey. You're not supposed to do that. I didn't tell anybody that I was doing it either. But that, one thing I would say to anybody out there that's considering doing this, don't do it in isolation. It's not the right way.
Yeah, there's no shortage of help out there for sure, and you got to start feeling feelings again. That was the worst part for me.
Yeah.
So about ClearPath itself. So I mean, obviously it helped you, and you were involved as an employee, but the clients and stuff. What can they expect? Like what? How is this program helping these veterans heal and then even get back on their feet in some regards?
Yeah. So like I said, it's an enduring program, right? So we meet the veteran where they are, identify their unique challenges, and set up a goal or case plan to help them overcome whatever those issues might be. We do that through several different core programs, one being our Canine program. So we are one of 55 ADI accredited organizations in the country providing trained service dogs for veterans struggling with independence. I don't particularly like to call out the PTSD, TBI, MST framework. Yes, like that was the flagship purpose, to train dogs to help mitigate some of those symptoms. But really, we're very reluctant to turn a veteran down that comes and connects with us and says, like, I'm just really having a hard time to find independence. I don't do the things I used to do before I was in the military. I don't like going to public events or social engagements. A service dog, in the way we train them, I mean, they will make you the center of attention. Most dogs will, but labs, golden retrievers, we went from a shelter-based training model to a purpose-bred development program where we're actually breeding these dogs and selecting them for health, temperament, trainability. We train them for 2 years. We bring the veteran in for about 3 weeks to go through the training. The dog's good to go, right? Like, they have already been trained. So we don't want to have a burden on the veteran to have to work through behavioral issues and things like that, which is candidly why we moved from the shelter-based training program to the puppy development program. Veteran is able to bring that dog back into their community, go anywhere the general public is allowed to go. They're trained to perform specific tasks that are tailored to the veteran themselves. And the way I explain that, and dogs do this intuitively anyway. If you have a pet dog, you could probably name a couple things that they do that's based on their intuition, right? Like, if I'm stressed and my dog comes and puts their chin on my lap to be pet, it's usually prompted by something, like you bouncing your knee up and down, or touching your face, or your cortisol being through the roof, stress hormones that are just not in an optimal state. Dogs respond to that, and they can sense it. They have a sense of smell that's 40 times greater than ours. So they pick up on these things, and there's nothing comparable to the bond between, I mean, there is, and that's really what was lost in the military, and what's recovered through this Canine program is you're able to recover something similar to the bond that you had with the brothers and sisters that you served with through Canine Companionship. So, and there's so many stories out there with our program. A lot of veterans have reported that, like, I have something to take care of, for one, beyond myself. And this dog clearly wants to be with me. It's a mutual relationship. They're doing things they weren't doing before. Some have reported that the only reason that they're still alive today is because they have this dog. When I hear things like that, I'm like, it just gives me a reason to keep doing it, right? There's a ton of studies out there and research. I don't think it's it's necessary, right, for continuing to promote what we're doing. But dogs work. They have always worked. They've worked for thousands of years. Uh, it's just incredible. We also do the peer support. Now, I'll backtrack a little bit. When a veteran connects with ClearPath, we're not shoving paperwork down their throat and saying, like, you got to fill all this out. We got to verify your service. You got to do all these things before we can do anything with you. It's if they call us and say, I just need help. And, first thing that would help my issue right now is a food package. We'll deploy a peer mentor out to where they're at and give them a food package, no questions. After we get to know them for a while, we'll bring them out to the campus, have them participate in one of our events. Every Wednesday, we do what's called a canteen. Canteen is so back in World War II in North Platte, Nebraska, when service members were returning home off the train, the community welcomed them home with like a home-cooked meal, just surrounding them with support. We do the same thing every Wednesday at our campus. We have this beautiful, great room, and there's usually between 150, 200 plus veterans and family members there. Getting a free meal. It's not meant to be a crisis intervention. It's meant to build camaraderie. If somebody needs food and, going to canteen is going to help resolve that, of course, come. But it's not the same thing as going to a rescue mission. You walk in, there's guys grabbing coffee, hanging out as early as 8 a.m. They stay till 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. A lot of them are retired. It's hard to get out. I mean, if you're working and Wednesday between 11 and 1 o'clock, we're seeing like a pretty consistent crowd, right? Usually it's an older crowd. So we also do something similar on Fridays and Saturdays as well, just to account for some of those working families, just to bring them to a place where they can relax, bring their kids, grab food, participate in some activities. And it's also a chance for them to connect with some of our staff and say, what is it that's going on? Are you struggling with employment, basic needs? Are you trying to get into college? Are you struggling to navigate through your benefits? And we have people for all of that. So it's, again, like we meet the veteran where they're at and connect them to the right programs that are going to help them get to where they're going.
That's fantastic. I mean, the camaraderie piece, right, Keith? And then you throw in food, veterans bonding over food is a no-brainer.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, you always say you meet their needs first, and then the rest will follow. Fellowship and food are the two best ways to break in on that scale. So speaking of scale, so you're in upstate New York. I'm actually from Glens Falls, Queensbury area. I'm not sure familiar with that, but
Yep.
next time I'm up home, I might have to sign up with y'all. But I don't know if you're in that. So and that's what I was going to ask. So I think you did some research. I think I read you guys are in 23 counties in upstate New York. So what's the scale of the organization? Do you have to be in upstate New York? How do folks either partake and or maybe even try to help out if they're in the area?
We cover 33 counties across the state.
Oh, 33. I was wrong. My bad.
5 different regions: Central New York, Northern Tier, Southern Tier, out towards Buffalo and the Hudson Valley. There's never a point at which a veteran connects with us that will say we can't do anything for you, be it in New York State or beyond. But as far as we've done 15 years of direct services, so we're not an organization that you connect and become a member with online and we send you a weekly email and that's it kind of thing, right? If you're going to connect with us, you're going to be on the phone with somebody, and likely somebody's going to be traveling to you to meet on a recurring basis to help you go through a case plan. So that's the reason why we cover those 33 counties. We have veteran staff that reside within those regions so that they can deploy to wherever the veteran is at. Nationally, our Canine program serves nationally. So a veteran can connect with us from anywhere in the country, apply for our program, and we'll bring them to New York, pay for accommodations, travel, food, transportation, everything that they need for that time that they're with us. And then we fly them back home when they're done with that program. The other national focus we have is something called Operation Socrates. So earlier in 2024, we acquired this program. It's a Department of Defense Skill Bridge program, so active service members that are looking to get into some vocational training prior to separation. We help veterans or active service members find jobs in the K through 12 school districts nationally. That's new.
Right.
It's been really well received. There's a lot of veterans and family members connecting with us. And I say veterans and families often because we serve both. If a family member connected with us and they wanted to go through Operation Socrates, we're going to treat them the same way that we would an active service member going through it. Think what's good for the whole unit is good for the veteran. So we do our best to pretty much have an all-inclusive approach when it comes to the veteran or the family member. Family member for us is kind of a subjective term. It's whoever you would deem a family member. Could be your best friend, could be your brother, your son, your wife, your husband, whatever it is, we're going to have something for you. Residentially, so at the campus, we also have a wellness program. We do non-clinical modalities such as massage, yoga. We've recently started something called cupping. I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
Oh, I hate that.
I've not done it myself. I was there yesterday and they're like, hey, we have a cupping session available. I was like, no, I'm good. Thanks. But there's a lot of people that have spoken highly about it in terms of pain management and that kind of
It
thing.
helps, but it sucks in the moment.
Yeah. Polarity. I mean, these are licensed practitioners coming to ClearPath and we offer those throughout the week, which is nice. It's similar to, we've been doing this for a long time. I mean, for really over 10 years, we've been doing the wellness program. The VA came along and they started their whole health deal, which is great. I mean, they're trying to take a holistic approach, but I'll tell you from a comparison, you go to ClearPath, you're really on this rural campus. You can grab coffee, hang out, eat food, go get your modality, come back up in the great room and hang out, talk to other vets. You don't get that when you go to the VA. You're usually going into the concrete jungle, parking in a garage, checking in with a specialty clinic, waiting in a waiting room. You're already, your stress is going through the roof because of that. You go into the clinic, you get your modality, and then you're kicked out again. You got to check out. And that's to us, that's just not it. The environment's really important. I'd say that's the same for dogs, right? You got to have the right environment for the dog or the veteran to be successful in. And that's something that we really hold in high regard at ClearPath. So it's a national and regional focus. We do a lot in New York State, but we also have a national footprint as well. But we're just mindful of what can we do nationally and do it well compared to what's really required to be like a campus commodity.
Sure.
So it's a balance.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And I love these programs when it deals with canine. And, it's having a dog is just, it's amazing, right? And I have two. So, we get the added frustration of one being a complete and utter knucklehead half the time. But still just every day there's something in amazement just watching them and what they do and how they react to things. So definitely applaud you for the work you're doing there and the impact you guys are having. Keith, we're coming down to the end already, man.
I know. Yeah. And my wife's going to tell me I need to sign up for y'all. She's been trying to get me a service dog forever. We got a German Shepherd 2 years ago and it was supposed to be kind of serving that purpose, but it chose my wife. So it's she's got a German Shepherd.
Happens often in my household.
Exactly.
I will say though, just on the canine program end, we do an owner trainer model too. So veterans that have their own dog and they're interested in training it as a service dog.
Well, maybe I'll kidnap her Shepherd and come up there and
6 months though. That's a 6-month program compared to 3 weeks, right? Because it takes longer. They still have to pass a temperament test so that they're meeting the benchmarks that we would hold our own cohort of dogs. That's really in the benefit of the veteran. The last thing we want to do, and this has been my experience, I went through the canine program in 2016. I didn't end up with a service dog. I had a hellhound, right? Like a German Shepherd that fed off of all of my problems, to be honest with you, which is what opened my eyes to the benefits of dog training and how dogs are just an inner reflection of your emotional state. I learned so much through that process. But we got to be sure that when we're placing these service dogs, they can go anywhere and they're not going to have some of these issues. Not worried about a dog barking or pulling on the leash or reacting to somebody. Yeah. It's a whole science behind it.
Yeah. And that's great that you're putting such a personalized effort into that kind of thing. And I mean, my Shepherd Gray is just, it follows my wife everywhere instead of me. But All
I
right,
got I
Ryan.
got one that would fail the program. So
Well, I got another dog. It's not a shepherd. It's my son's dog. That dog doesn't. Yeah. Anyway, all right, we are at time, Ryan. It was great coming on or having you come on. I was looking forward to this episode, and I'm really happy we got to do this. So, two more questions before we go. First, because we didn't even talk about the fact that you're now the CEO of ClearPath. So, first question is, what's the biggest thing you miss about being the CEO from what you were doing previously, and why is it probably not working with the dogs as much? And the second question is, how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, from the first, I'm a tactical kind of guy. I like to be doing the work, meeting with the veterans every day, and training the dogs is the thing I will always miss more than anything else. I mean, I have 3 service dogs in training at my house right now, so I get it when I can. And it's the challenges of being a CEO are near, far, and wide, but it's also carrying an important mission, which I'm grateful for. To be able to be somebody that has the lived-in experience. I'm not some politician or high-ranking officer that served in the military. I was a grunt. I went through these challenges, and I've been with this organization for almost 10 years, and now I get to help push this mission forward. I'm grateful for that. I will say there are days, though, that I'm like, I just want to go down and work with some dogs and some veterans and maybe go sit down with somebody at canteen, which I get periodically, but you got to find the balance.
Yeah.
Second, you guys, anybody can get in touch with us through a multitude of ways. Same ways as everybody else, the website, you can call the office, you can ask to speak with me. I'll be there to answer the phone and talk to you. On the website, there's a lot of different contact forms. There's a newsletter you can sign up for. You can reach out to us on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I think we have just about all of them at this point. If you're interested in a particular program, if you go to the website, you can navigate through some of the toolbars and they'll drive you to whichever program you're particularly interested in with. I'll say for anybody connecting with ClearPath directly, everybody at some point, we're going to do what we call it's a holistic navigation thing, like where we really try to get to know who you are, what your challenges are, what your situation is before we start saying, we're going to set you up with workforce development, peer support, Canine. It could be all of them, but we got to get to know you first to really see how to set you up for success.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. So everybody listening, yeah, definitely check them out. If you want to support them, I'm sure they will gladly take whatever support you're willing to give as well. Doing great things out there for our veteran and military affiliated community. So, Ryan, again, thank you so much for coming on. And on behalf of the entire VET S.O.S family, we want to appreciate or thank everybody for coming on here or listening today. I told you I need more of this. So VET S.O.S is growing and spreading its wings. You can follow us on all the social media platforms. Make sure to check out all 4 of our shows and to follow and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast from. We're on YouTube, Reach Across America Radio, the Parade Deck, and all those other goodies out there. And as always, folks, remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S Lifeline.